Good evening and welcome to the August 22nd, 2017, 6:30 City Council meeting. We have a quorum. I'll declare this meeting in order. We have a minister today, Pastor Christopher Garrison of Faith Baptist Church, if you will, sir.
Mr. Mayor, council members, again, I just feel it's necessary for me to express my gratitude and the gratitude of Faith Baptist Church that you allow our pastor and myself to come at different times and open this meeting in prayer. We just feel it's really important, and we're grateful for the opportunity.
We're grateful for you coming, sir.
Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father, we thank you again just for the privilege that you give us to come into your very presence. And Father, this is not something that we take lightly. Father, in fact, I stand in this room tonight and I'm humbled by the responsibility that is before the men and women who sit on this council tonight. Father, there are so many things that are, even as we heard in some of the last meeting, there's just so many things that are so important that have to be decided and handled. Father, we may not be the largest city in the United States of America, but this is our city, and its citizens are our concern, and its maintenance and its upkeep and its welfare are our responsibility. And our police and our firefighters and our emergency services and our government officials, these people are worthy of our respect. And we thank you for the work that they do and the job that is theirs and the responsibility that is theirs. Lord, there are things that are going to take place tonight, and there are issues that some are more weighty than others, but Father, all of them deserve attention. And so we pray that you would give wisdom where needed. Father, I pray for clarity of thought and speech. Lord, I pray that you would direct the conversations tonight. And Lord, most importantly, we pray that you would be honored and glorified by the decisions that are made. And Father, I pray that these would be decisions that would lead to a better Titusville. And I know this is the goal for everyone in this room tonight, is a city that we can be proud of, continue to be proud of, a city that we can continue to raise our children in, and we can continue to see thrive and grow. And Father, we want to be a light in the city, in the state of Florida, for how things can be done well. And so, Lord, we commit all these things to you tonight, knowing that you have a plan. You have placed each of these people. I firmly believe that you have placed each of these people on this board for such a time as this. And none of these things have happened in a corner, and none of these things have happened without your notice. And so, Father, we ask that you would drive this meeting tonight, and I pray that each member would feel the importance of the decisions that they make. God, we commit all these things to you in the name of Jesus, whose death paid the debt for our sin, whose resurrection gives us hope for the future. And it's in his name we pray all of these things. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Please join me for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, would you read the procedures for public comments, please?
Yes, sir. Individuals wishing to speak on public and non-public hearing agenda items must complete a sign-up card and present it to the clerk prior to the item being introduced. Those wishing to speak on quasi-judicial public hearings must complete a sign-up card and sign the oath. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions and requests from the public present. This opportunity is offered twice in the meeting, and individuals may speak at either the first or second petitions, but not both. No sign-up card is required. Sign-up and oath cards are located on the table in the back of the council chamber. Citizens shall not comment on any issue more than once during the meeting, and all comments except petitions and requests must address the pending issue. Citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak on all items.
Thank you, Clerk. We have two sets of minutes for July 25th, 2017, 5:30 and 6:30. Are there any additions or corrections? I see none. I will accept the motion to approve.
I'd move to approve the minutes of the regular city council meetings on July 25th at 5:30 and 6:30.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Same sign. Passes unanimously. Special recognitions and presentations. I think we finished them all at the last meeting. Boards and commissions. Mr. City Manager.
Appoint 2 members to the North Brevard Commission on Parks and Recreation for a 2-year term expiring on 31 August 2019. The terms of regular members Bianca Alamo and Sunny Aguilar expire on 31 August 2017. Members Alamo and Aguilar have expressed their willingness and desire to continue to serve on this board as City Council appointees and have requested reappointment for a 2-year term, which will expire on 31 August 2019. There are no other applications on file.
Thank you, sir. What's your pleasure? We have two members that would like to be reappointed. Okay, members Alamo, I believe, and Agarwal have expressed their willingness. Do I have a motion to be reappointed?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. You have a motion. I'll make the motion to approve or reappoint Sunny Agarwal and Bianca Alamo.
Alamo.
I'll move to reappoint Bianca Alamo and Sunny Agarwal to the board.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second. Discussion.
Discussion, yes, we can do that. Member Nelson, do you have no? Okay, it was up there. Vice Mayor?
Yes, just for the integrity of the board, I'm going to recuse myself from this. Mr. Agarwal and I had business dealings previously, and just for the perception of, I'll be recusing myself from this vote.
Okay. I still have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, same time. Passes with 4 votes. Member Vice Mayor abstaining. Next item, let's see, where am I? Petitions and requests from the public. Is there anybody who wishes to speak at this time? Come right up, ma'am. Hello.
Good evening.
Say your name, please.
My name is Rose Smith. I live in the Hickory Hill subdivision here. I wear about 5 hats for the community. I have a small business that I own. I am also I'm the supervisor for the home improvements program at Aging Matters in Brevard. So we improve mobility and safety for people's homes who are over the age of 60 years old. I'm also the HOA president for the Hickory Hill. And I help Matt with the Water Advisory Board. And I'm a mom and a wife. So all that's me standing right in front of you today. The only item that I have today is actually been brought up for the Hickory Hill Homeowners Association. The Hickory Hill Boulevard has experienced a ton of speeding over the years. I believe at one point there was some humps that were slowing people down, and those were taken out during a repaving. I don't know the years. I'm very sorry. I don't have all that information. As a mother, the concern for having children outside playing on that boulevard, and even to have landscaping crews or FPL or Spectrum or AT&T, anybody on that boulevard out there just trying to do their job. The speeders that are coming through, they're cutting between South Street, Park Avenue, and whatnot to try to get to 50 and just kind of scoot through the boulevard, who are coming in at 40, 45 miles an hour down that, and there's plenty of places that people are having close calls. There was an accident there yesterday. I don't know the process of what exactly I'm asking you today, except for that I'm asking for it to be looked at. I'm asking, what is my process? Can a survey be done? Can the neighbors bring something forth? Who can I meet with to talk to about this? Because I feel like I'm representing a lot of mothers and fathers here today. And I want to know, what is my next process?
You can meet with us, and then we will turn you over to the police chief. You stayed, John.
We have engaged Lieutenant Deloche, who at the time that we had this a little bit ago come up at an HOA meeting. He did start doing some patrols out in the area, but I'm here because the residents have asked me to go a step further and see what we can do, and even if a stop sign, at least one on the boulevard, would be something that we could talk about. I know that the emergency services and response vehicles aren't so keen on the humps idea, and some of the residents aren't either, but something, just to do something. So.
If you will speak to the chief, he's the man.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? I see no one. Okay, next item is the consent agenda. Mr. City Manager?
Yes, sir. I'd like to pull item D. We made an error about the amount of the permitting fee. It appears we had an older document in there, and the actual fee that we're recommending to council is $10, not $25.
Okay, you're pulling that from, at this point?
We can pull it and then vote it separately if you wish. It will require a roll call vote because it is a resolution.
All right. City Clerk, are there any cards on this item?
No, sir.
Council, is there anybody who wants anything pulled from this group?
8B, sir.
B?
8B, correct.
Okay.
NG.
And G?
I just have some questions on it.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve items A, C, E, F? Are there any others? And that's it.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second for approval.
City Manager, you want to read those items?
Yes, sir. Consent agenda item 8A, approve the award of a lease purchase agreement to Leasing 2 Incorporated for 2 street sweepers during a 4-year term with an annual cost of $113,326.81, based on the pricing established by the Florida Sheriff's Association bid award to Environmental Products of Florida. Approve agreement with Environmental Products of Florida to repurchase both sweepers at the end of the 4-year amount for $174,586. Approve the agreement with Environmental Products of Florida to maintain both sweepers during a 4-year term at a price of $24,000 annually, and authorize the mayor to execute these 3 documents. This action is contingent on approval of the FY18 budget. Consent agenda item 8C, approve submission of application and receipt of funds in the amount of $24,240 for the local JAG grant approval submittal application. Consent agenda item 8E, approve the award of the contract to Kaiser Realty for real estate services associated with the sale of 1010 Queen Street, located in Inspiration Village, and authorize the city manager to execute said contract and any other instruments necessary to engage Kaiser Realty for these services. Consent agenda item 8F, approve Police Department Bulletproof Vest Grant Fund Transfer Request. Additionally, approve the associated budget amendment.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on the items read. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. The next item, the first item that was pulled is B. I believe that was you, sir?
Yes, sir.
On April 11, 2017, Council approved advisability to seek partners to operate and provide additional services at the Harry T. Moore Social Services Center. On June 6, 2017, City invited interested parties to provide a request to proposal for outsourcing of the social services programs. In response to proposal 17P32, 338 firms were notified, including 21 local social service agencies. On July 7, 2017, one proposal was received from North Brevard Charities Sharing Incorporated. Staff feels that the recommended partnership with the community service provider that has a long-standing stake in the community and its citizens will enhance direct services to the community. The objective is to outsource the provisions of the social services at the center to a qualified community-based development organization which has an investment in the community and shares the same vision as the city with regard to social services, affordable housing, jobs, youth services, and/or programs, mental health, substance abuse, and homelessness issues. We have Mr. Joe Robinson here, who was awarded the contract. Should council have any other questions? And Vice Mayor, your floor.
And sir, I just had maybe a few comments for staff.
Yes, go right ahead. Do you have any questions for Mr. Robinson?
I think more just comments. So,
Do you want him to come up to this?
if you would care, sir, then you're welcome to. Thank you.
I'm just a servant.
Ain't that the truth?
Just a servant.
I just
Good afternoon to all.
good afternoon,
How are you,
sir.
sir?
So, for council's perspective, I can't stress enough what a big step this is, or what I feel is such a big step for our city in this. I want to acknowledge definitely Ms. Busacca, but Ms. Franklin. This has been a huge effort and ongoing, and I can't say enough thanks to her for day in and day out helping build access to services through your department, helping the least of these within our community day in and day out. And so I thank you for that. I think that these steps do a tremendous service to our community in partnership, and we really could ask no more as a council besides add capacity, not a ton of cost. And I look forward to seeing what additional opportunities there are, which is amazing. So a huge thank you to you for this. It's a big deal. Mr. Robinson, I just want to personally thank you for the endeavor that you're investing into the community. And it's I can only say thanks for all that you've already done, but to move forward and invest again with the city in serving folks who there's help, and being that opportunity. If you're walking in and you're trying to find some bread, it's sitting there. It's sitting there. And you can't say that everywhere you go. So thank you for the investment. I also, as a council, as a policy, what I see is because the access to services is in geographically a distant portion of town, what we've also done is alleviated some of the pressure in maybe Indian River City and may have access which distributes those services, which is great. So I can't commend what's taking place here. City Manager, thank you. And I'm just incredibly grateful for what's taking place. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. I will echo what he said. I've known you quite some time now, and we couldn't find a better servant than you to take this, sir. Would you like to make the motion?
Sir, I'd be happy to approve the award of contract to North Brevard Charities for the provision of social service programs at the Harry T. Moore Social Service Center.
I have a second.
I'd be happy to second that.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
This is a roll call vote,
Discussion?
sir.
Sir?
Roll call vote.
Yes, sir. 1 second. Okay. Any discussion, any further discussion? That's where I was. Not seeing none. Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Member Diesel?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Behringer?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Passes unanimously. I'm sorry? Oh, sorry.
Mr. Mayor, I started the application today to Second Harvest to open up a food bank at the
That would be
Great.
Breakfast Center.
Yeah.
So
Great.
that hopefully that will come in when we take over sometime this year.
Thank you, sir.
Yay.
Thank you all.
Item D.
Item 8D. On 8 August 2017, Council adopted Ordinance 21-2017 setting forth the requirements for backyard chickens, including obtaining a permit with a filing fee to be set by the resolution by Council. Based on staff time and estimated to review and approve the permit, the staff is proposing a fee of $10. During the August 8, 2017 meeting, Council members raised a question about the current horse permit fee of $25. This fee was established in 2003 by Ordinance 65-2003. Questions also arose about the comparative cost of dog and cat licensing obtained through the Brevard County Animal Services Enforcement. Dog and cat licenses are $16 per animal per year for unaltered animals and $10 per animal per year for spayed and neutered animals. The proposed $10 fee is a one-time fee when permit is issued.
Do I have a motion to approve resolution number 12, 2017 as corrected?
You do.
Do I have a second? Second. Your turn. Any discussion? If not, roll call vote, please, clerk.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Behringer?
Yes.
Member Stokel? Yes. Member Diesel?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. And item G?
Item 8G, the purpose of licensing and regulation of building contractors is to ensure that the construction activities are performed by qualified and licensed contractors to be protected by the interest of the public. Brevard County Licensing, Regulation, and Enforcement is responsible for the county licensing for specific trades such as drywalling, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, roofing, etc. In addition, the county provides contract enforcement services for the cities of Melbourne, Melbourne Beach, Indian Harbor Beach, Satellite Beach, Rockledge, and Grand Vieja in the unincorporated county. The city is seeking to enter into an interlocal agreement with the county to provide registration, licensing, and discipline of registered contractors. The cost of these services is $8,000 a year. Utilization of the services of the county will better ensure that unlicensed contractors or unpermitted activities are brought into compliance in a timely manner that is consistent with other areas in Brevard County, as the city does not currently have staff dedicated to contractor enforcement.
Okay. This is not a resolution. Do I have a motion on this?
I believe
I have a question.
Councilmember Nelson pulled it.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. Basaka, I had one question, and if I'd thought about it this afternoon, I would have called and totally cleared it up, and I wouldn't be here asking this. So this basically turns everything over to the county. They will be doing the licensing. They will receive the money from the licenses. They will do the enforcement, and they'll get the fines from the enforcement.
That's correct.
but
We currently do not do licensing,
Okay,
and so they have been doing licensing for quite some time.
okay,
And what they will do is as this discussed, there'll be a 60-day period from the time that this is approved, which we hope is by October 1. And during that time, they will actually go out and tell contractors who are working without either the proper permits or the proper licensing that they need to do that.
Okay.
And then after that 60-day period, if they hear of unlicensed contractors working, then they will go through their process, which is to try to get them to get licensed.
Okay.
They're not trying to be punitive, but they do have a process.
Okay.
And the city believes that because there might be some people doing some unpermitted work, that we will probably recoup this $8,000 in permit fees once they understand that permits are required.
okay. And it also saves us a staff from hiring a staff person.
Yes, and also what it does is if we're not doing licensing enforcement and another community is, the unlicensed workers find this place because the enforcement is not as rigorous. So this should also protect our citizens from having people who are working without their license.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Any other questions?
That was good.
Would you like to make the motion?
I could.
Approve.
I move to approve the interlocal agreement with Brevard County for contractor licensing, regulation, and enforcement.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Same sign. Passes unanimously. We're on to item 9, second reading, resolution. City Manager, you introduce this item, please.
On June 14, 2016, City Council approved an advisability to transition the billing of stormwater charges to the non-ad valorem assessments. On 23 August 2016, City Council approved Resolution Number 19, 2016, electing to use a uniform method of collecting non-ad valorem stormwater assessment levied within the incorporated areas of the city, as authorized under Section 197.3632 Florida statutes. On June 13, 2017, City Council approved the interlocal agreements between the Brevard County Property Appraiser and the Brevard County Tax Collector for services related to stormwater billing non-ad valorem assessments. On 25 July 2017, the first reading of the ordinance was held. This item was tabled from the 8 August 2017 meeting, and we have staff here to provide a presentation to Council.
Go right ahead.
We're here to just give you a quick summary of what we're trying to do and try to answer some of the questions from the last meeting. Upon adoption of this ordinance and resolution, the next 2 agenda items, the stormwater fee would no longer be billed on the combined utility bill in January. Instead, it will be billed on the property owner's tax assessment under the non-ad valorem section. There are no other proposed changes to the rate structure, and if this is not adopted, that same fee will continue to be billed on the combined utility bills in January.
And with the graphic that you see over on the other portion of your slideshow, you see a timeline that I'd like to explain. Property taxes becoming delinquent first on the 1st of April. On or before June 1st, the tax collector, pursuant to Florida statute, must conduct a tax certificate sale. And once the tax lien has been issued on your property, you have up to 22 months to pay your taxes before the tax deed foreclosure process can begin. So, for example, your 2017 taxes are considered to be due on November 1st, 2017. If no payment is made, your taxes are considered delinquent as of April 1st, 2018. A tax certificate will be issued on or before June 1st, 2018, depending on the tax sale date for that year. And a tax deed foreclosure cannot be initiated on your property until April 1st, 2020, 2 years after the initial bill is sent to the property owner.
So just for a visual, on the left is a 2016 Titusville utility bill from January. This person's bill is normally about $50 to $60 a month, but in January it jumps to about $150 due to the stormwater fee. This proposal will take that fee off of the utility bill and move it to this section of the tax bill. As you can see, the stormwater fee will go into the same section that the county's solid waste disposal fee is already on there for Titusville residents. For example, this is a 2016 Brevard County tax bill. The county residents are already being billed this way for stormwater. The municipalities within Brevard that already collect the stormwater assessment this way include the county, Grant-Volcaria, Indian Harbor Beach, Malabar, Melbourne, Melbourne Beach, Palm Bay, Satellite Beach, and West Melbourne.
This chart here shows you the differences between the current method of collection on the left and the proposed changes that you would see after the ordinance and resolution are approved tonight. On the left, you see that the stormwater fee is a special assessment. That does not change on the tax collection method. Non-payment of the utility bill constitutes a lien against the property, which may be foreclosed. Again, there's no change there if your bill is not paid. A non-payment of your utility bill creates a lien with equal weight on parity with taxes pursuant to Florida statute. The non-payment of your tax bill creates also a lien with equal weight as a tax lien per Florida statute. After the city sends its bill, your stormwater fee is going to be delinquent if it's not paid within 30 days. The tax collector, by statute, says that your bill is delinquent after it's not paid within 4 months. In the city's collection method, a utility lien may be recorded within 30 days of delinquency, where the tax collector follows a process that requires 2 years before that delinquent tax deed sale process can begin. The city may often receive requests from the community members who want to spread their payments out over the course of 12 months. The city has to manually adjust the stormwater charges in order to create a payment plan, where if you're paying a mortgage, your escrow typically will spread that payment out over 12 months without having any manual adjustments by any staff members. And if you're not paying a mortgage, the tax collector also offers a quarterly payment installment option. The city does not offer any early payment discounts. However, the tax collector offers a benefit of up to 4% for those early payments.
As an FYI, we've already drafted an update of our frequently asked questions, and if this passes, it'll be posted on our website tomorrow for citizens to be able to access. That's all we have. If you have any questions.
Any questions from council for staff? I don't see any. You must have done a good job. I do want to emphasize that this is not a new tax. It's not it's just a different way of billing it, and we think it will be more convenient and less confusing because we consistently got complaints when they were on the water bill, and all of a sudden the person would look at their bill and it went up, it doubled because of the this amount of money put on it, and we got lots of calls. So this way, I think, should clear that up. It doesn't put you in any more jeopardy. You have actually more time to pay the bill. From my understanding, we have never foreclosed on a water bill, and I don't think it's going to happen on this one either. So with that, I just want to explain that we think this is a better thing. I will open the public hearing. Clerk, do we have any cards on this item?
We have one card. It's Carl Krupp.
Mr. Crump?
I've got a handout for you, gentlemen.
Can you say your name, sir, and
my name is
place?
Carl Krupp. I own property at 612 Garden Street. Some of the information it's correct, but not in full. The city does have a signed agreement with the tax collector. As of last week, there is no signed agreement with the property appraisers to put this on the tax roll. Property appraiser let me know that they've already certified the tax roll for this coming year. They've already sent it off to the state. Some of the information where it says property built, this is from Mr. Broom. They're not paid by April 30th are deemed delinquent. Actually, that is as of April 1st, your tax bill would be deemed delinquent if this county takes this over. Yes, there is a 3% penalty that the county will charge you. Plus, they will also charge you for advertising and other charges, which will raise that 3%. But when it comes to doing your tax lien, the pages that you get, gentlemen and ladies, have, will states that it's a bid. I can go in there and look at a property, and I want 18% interest. That's on top of the 3% the county's already charged you. Now you're at 21% on your property, above what your property tax was. That's what you're going to have to pay me back if I buy that tax lien, plus the advertising and everything else. After 2 years, yes, I can foreclose. I can force a tax sale of your property. And if you look on the second page, this is for August 24th, here in 2 days. There are 66 more properties going on tax sale. The first one was issued in 2011. In other words, hasn't been paid. Stormwater wouldn't have their money because this one, it's only for 2000. But then there's, first page shows 2 that are homesteaded at $20,000. So far this year, there has been 44 properties sold under this condition. Remediated was 48, and rescheduled, there's been 8. There's been over 100 properties.
May I ask you a question? Under what condition? The water bill or a
property appraisers selling the tax liens, or
the tax
actually being foreclosed
for the property tax?
The house is being taken away. The property is being taken away
For the property tax, not for
through property tax.
Right. Well, you didn't clarify that.
And like the city attorney has said, Titusville has never foreclosed on a house. But there's been over 100 so far through the property appraisers process that has been sold. I was at the county commissioners meeting today at 9 o'clock. Chairman Kurt Smith did make a comment, and no one had brought up about this, that if you don't pay a property tax, the county will foreclose on your property. His words.
That's property tax.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with the water tax.
But
it goes on that, but
you're on that.
But you can pay that.
You can't pay just part of that bill.
No.
You have to pay that bill
You're
totally. Or there's no way you can do it. There's a page here, and no one's talked about the cost. Stormwater for Melbourne is 2.7, which is approximately the same that we're doing. Ours shows at about 2.5. That cost is $55,000 to the property, well, not the property appraiser, the tax collector alone. The property appraiser is going to have approximately the same amount of money. You're talking $100,000 to $110,000 coming out of their budget. And now, where are they going to make that up? Who are they going to lay off? City of Palm Bay last year did this. Last year, their bill was $53 a year. This year, the assessment is $173.
Your time is up, sir. I want to point out something, though, and I'm not asking you a question, sir. I'm just pointing it out that the only way they could foreclose is if you didn't pay on your property tax. You said that, and that's quite correct. Now, your water bill is only a very small part of that. So if you don't pay your overall thing, yeah, that'll be added to it, but you will owe, as you pointed out, thousands on your property tax.
But with the city of Titusville, I can come in. I own my houses outright. I don't work. But if I have a hardship, if I have a medical condition, I can get you guys to adjust
Thank you,
it for
sir.
12
Your time
months.
is up, and I didn't ask you a question. I think the point is that you would not have to pay your property tax in order to be foreclosed. And if you didn't pay it, whether the water bill was on there or not, you'd still be foreclosed. But it has nothing to do with the water bill. It has to do with your property tax, which may be thousands of dollars. And typically, and there's 2 years to take that. And yes, there is a bid for it. I doubt that 18% something would be bought for that, because that's why it's done up there. It's an auction, and it's the lowest bid that will win. And I think if I saw 18%, I'd run over there myself in today's world and buy a few of those. Anyway, any other cards?
No, sir.
I'll close the public hearing. Council, any questions on this or discussions? Let's see. Yes, 4. It's Vice Mayor.
Thank you, sir. And just one question for staff for clarity. If I am behind in my taxes right now to Brevard County, let's say I'm year or two, whatever, and I'm involved in this process and so on and so on, and I miss 3 months of water bills in Titusville, the process of, let me try it like this. When I go to
Vice
make
Mayor,
up,
if you would,
yeah,
we're only talking about an annual assessment on stormwater.
that is a fair statement. That, you know what, that is a fair statement. So if I am behind, thank you for that. If I am behind X amount on my taxes already, and now I go to pay my annual assessment, right? Is that possible? Or is that money just going to be applied to one chunk of bill, and therefore I can't get? I guess where I'm going is if I can't get out of a hole. That's what I'm like. I'm in a hole, but I'll pay this amount because I can keep that one going. Is that still a possibility to, I guess, take care of one but leave the other? Does that make sense? It's about clear as mud. Sorry.
It is going to be collected as part of the tax bill, the unified ad valorem, non-ad valorem on one statement that you will pay.
Right.
I guess if your question is, can someone decide that they don't want to pay their taxes but come pay their stormwater?
Correct.
I'm not sure that would benefit them in a way, because they're still going to lose the house they're paying the stormwater on when they don't pay their taxes.
Which is
Because it doesn't affect their water bill. Their water won't get shut off, whereas it's totally...
fair statement. Yeah, I'm there. All right.
The only component that I would add to that statement is that the taxes are collected in an annual statement, and for this year's tax deed sales, for example, we're looking at taxes from 2 years prior, and so a homeowner could make the decision to pay just the taxes from 2015 and leave 2016 outstanding to avoid the tax deed sale, because there needs to be those 2 years' worth of unpaid taxes in order to have that sale happen.
And thank you for the clarity. Thank you.
Member Diesel?
I was in favor of tabling this so I could better understand it. And I applauded even 2 weeks ago when I was in favor of tabling it because of the lack of clarity to me. I even applauded then the city's effort to clarify the stormwater versus water, et cetera, and get away from that January bump that I know we've all heard about and heard about often. I applaud that. I still do. And then I got all concerned that I'm hearing the word foreclosure with water bill, and that concerned me greatly. I would say that I feel that it's very, unlikely is not strong enough word. I just don't see that's going to happen. The more I looked into this, the more I inquired. I think your presentation does very well, especially slide 5, to clarify that. I am comfortable with the movement the city is making, and will support it.
Anyone else from council? If not, I'll close the public hearing. I'll ask for a motion on Resolution 11-2017.
I would make a motion on, say that again, 11-217. Yes, I would make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
I have a motion and a second. This is a resolution. Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Behringer?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Diesel?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item B, ordinance. It's City Attorney, sir.
Ordinance number 20, 2017, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 21, Article 5, Stormwater Management Utility, to transition the collection of an annual stormwater utility assessment to a non-ad valorem assessment on the property tax roll, specifically by amending Section 21-266 definitions, Section 21-272 service charges, Section 21-273 service rate charges, Section 21-275 fee collection, and Section 21-276 exemptions or credits applicable to service charges, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, and for an effective date.
On 14 June 2016, City Council approved an advisability to transition the billing of stormwater charges to non-ad valorem assessments. On 23 August 2016, City Council approved Resolution 19, 2016, electing to use the uniform method of collection non-ad valorem stormwater assessment levied within the incorporated area of the city and authorized under Section 197.3632 Florida statutes. On 13 June 2017, City Council approved interlocal agreements between the Brevard County Property Appraiser and the Brevard County Tax Collector for services related to stormwater billing non-ad valorem assessments. On July 25, 2017, first reading of the ordinance was held. In order to proceed with transferring the method of collection of stormwater fee from utility bills to non-ad valorem tax assessment, an amendment to the Stormwater Management Utility Ordinance is required.
Okay. City staff, do you have any other comments you'd like to make? Okay.
Only that we encourage you to follow suit.
I'm sorry?
Only that we encourage you to follow suit with the previous resolution, as these two items are tied together.
Very good, yes. Council, any questions of staff? I see none. Clerk, do we have any cards on this?
Mr. Krupp wanted to speak on A and B.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing. If you will come up, sir.
Carl Krupp, property is 612 Garden Street. Sorry that you voted that, because now you have given up the city's right to actually have to deal with your customers, with the people that live in Titusville. Now they're going to see a property appraiser's tax bill. Who are they going to call? They're not going to call the city first. They're going to have the runaround. Have a good day.
You too, sir. Close the public hearing. Any council discussion? I have a motion on this item, ordinance 20-2017.
I would move to approve ordinance number 20-2017.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I see none. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Oh, roll call vote, sorry. Roll call.
Vice Mayor Behringer?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Diesel?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes. Passes unanimously. Next item, rezoning number 2-2017. City Attorney?
Ordinance number 22, 2017, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending ordinance number 5, 1993 of the City of Titusville, Florida, by amending the zoning map made a part of said ordinance by reference, by replacing the present light industrial services and warehousing M1 zoning to neighborhood commercial NC zoning for property located at 1116 South Street, and providing for an effective date.
The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this action 4-0. The applicant, Dennis Basil, on behalf of the owner, Wealth Care LLC, is requesting to rezone approximately 0.23 acre property located at 1116 South Street. The request is to rezone the property from light industrial services and warehouse M1 zoning district to neighborhood commercial NC zoning designation within the comprehensive plan future land use designation of downtown mixed use. The purpose of the rezone is to allow a professional office on this subject property, and Ms. Busaka is here to answer questions that you may have on this action.
Thank you. I do have a brief presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to bring to your attention that on page 460 of your agenda package begins the staff report. The property is currently occupied by an approximately 2,750 square foot building. The property has been previously used as a glass and glazing contractor, an appliance retailer, and a roofing contractor. And the staff is unclear as to why this is currently zoned M1. It was applied during the administrative rezoning in 1993. The staff's analysis has found that the comprehensive plan, that this proposal is consistent with several policies of the comprehensive plan. Public facilities are available. Traffic impacts will be de minimis. That the proposed zoning is similar in intensity to the other land use and zoning designations in the area, and staff recommends approval.
Council, any questions of staff? I see none. Clerk, are there any cards on this item?
No, sir.
I'll close the I don't think I opened the public hearing. I'll open it and close it. Council discussion. I don't hear any discussion. Do I have a motion on this subject?
I would move to approve the rezoning request number 2-2017.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rezoning doesn't require roll call.
This is an ordinance.
Just a, huh?
This is an ordinance.
It is an ordinance? Okay, roll call vote.
Member Stokel? Yes. Member Diesel?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Behringer?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item D. Small-scale amendment. It is an ordinance. City Attorney.
Yes, sir. This item, small-scale amendment number 1, 2017, includes ordinances number 23, 2017, and 24, 2017. I'll read both ordinances together. However, you will vote separately on these items. Ordinance number 23, 2017, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances by amending ordinance number 60, 1988, which adopted the comprehensive plan of the City of Titusville, by changing the land use designation of 3 parcels located on the east side of U.S. Highway 1 adjacent to River Edge Drive, having parcel ID numbers 22, 35, 26, BF 28, 22, 35, 26, BF 29.03, and 22, 35, 26, BF 29.02 from the commercial high-intensity and conservation land use, future land use designations to the medium-density residential designation, and providing for an effective date. Ordinance number 24, 2017, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending ordinance number 5, 1993 of the City of Titusville, Florida, by amending the zoning map made a part of said ordinance by reference, by replacing the present community commercial CC and open space and recreation OR zoning with single-family medium-density R1B zoning on 3 parcels located on the east side of U.S. Highway 1, adjacent to River Edge Drive, having parcel ID numbers 22, 35, 26 BF 28, 22, 35, 26 BF 29.03, and 22, 35, 26 BF 29.02, and providing for an effective date.
Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this action 4-0. The applicant is requesting a small-scale amendment and rezoning in order to construct single-family homes. Based on the survey submitted with the application, the total property area is 1.17 acres adjacent to River Edge Drive. The requested SSA proposes to replace an existing commercial high-intensity future land use designation with a medium-density residential future land use and replace the existing community commercial CC zoning with single-family medium-density R1B zoning designation. And Ms. Pusaka has a couple maps and a presentation for council.
Ms. Pusaka.
Yes, thank you. This request has changed since the initial ordinance was advertised, and I want to clarify that the property is 1.17 acres and that the ordinances very clearly reflect that the conservation future land use designation and the area designated as OR, which is the area along the river east of River Edge Drive, is not included in this request. The map that you have that's in your package, as well as the map that we were just provided, shows an area in red, which is the only area to be rezoned. So because this has changed, the title of the ordinance is still sufficient to allow this, but I wanted to clarify that the property to the east of River Edge Drive is not proposed to be changed. The intent of this rezoning and land use change is to allow this vacant property to be developed as single-family lots. This is an area which was included as part of the River Edge Drive small area plan adopted by the council in 2004. And this is part of the north area of that plan. It was recommended for medium density residential future land use, and the subject area is adjacent to the northern border of this for medium density residential. Staff considers the requested medium density residential land use designation as an appropriate designation as is consistent with the medium density residential designation recommended by the River Edge small area plan. The property is been found to be, excuse me, consistent with the comprehensive plan. City utilities are available to serve the property as it is within the city's urban service, and the land use change will not endanger agricultural conservation or areas of open space. For that reason, the staff recommends approval of the SSA and the rezoning.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions by council of staff? I don't. Yes, go ahead.
One question.
Sure.
If I remember right in reading it, that area east of River Edge Drive is left conservation?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
That's what I thought.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll open the public hearing. Clerk, any cards on this item?
Yes, sir. We have 3. Mr. Honeycutt.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Rodney Honeycutt, 3700 South Washington Avenue, right here in the city of Titusville.
Rodney, you're stepping on the microphone itself, your thing. There, it hit the push button. There you go.
Yes. Start all over again. Good evening, Mayor and City Council.
Good evening.
It's Rodney Honeycutt, 3700 South Washington Avenue, and here in Titusville. Quite simply, this request is to rezone 1.17 acres west of River Edge Drive to single family from commercial high intensity, which will allow 2 single family lots to be constructed. And so, any questions?
Any questions? I see none. If you will. Next card, clerk.
Henry Mars.
Good evening. My name's Henry Moss, Riverview Townhomes, and we are diagonally across the street from the proposed development along the east side of the river there. And the main reason for me showing up tonight, I wanted to get clarification also, as you requested, about what was going to happen with that area on the east side of the road, whether it going to remain conservation, because that is a really beautiful area. We would love to see it stay the way it is. So I really don't have anything else. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Next card, clerk.
The last card is Laura Ward.
Laura Ward, River Edge Drive. So is the original staff report that was online said that this was outside the River Edge Drive small area plan?
That is correct.
So you just said it was.
I know, and it's because I didn't read it very carefully, but it is outside.
It is outside?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Where do you judge it to stop, the plan?
The plan?
Yeah, the small area plan.
We just looked at the I don't have the plan in front of me, but we just looked at what the criteria is for that plan. We do think it is consistent with the plan. The plan actually calls for multifamily in this area, and this is single family. So we feel that it is a less intense use.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I just
Okay.
maybe I talk to you later about why you think it's outside.
Okay.
Okay. I still hope you approve this. I mean, I think it's a good thing for River Edge Drive. And, of course, it's consistent, as Mr. Bisaka said, with what's being constructed just down the road from that. It seems like there's really no reason for you not to approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Honeycutt, do you want to say anything further? No? Okay, I will close the public hearing. Council? What's your pleasure? Questions or whatever?
I just wanted to say I appreciate having that area next to the river, left as conservation. I think it's nice for the neighborhood, but I would move to move to approve small scale amendment number 1-217. I think that's appropriate, correct, or do I need to wait?
Right, well, that's fine. I'd like to go ahead and part of that be to approve ordinance number 23, 2017, if that's your desire, and then we'll have a roll call vote, and then a separate motion to approve ordinance number 24, 2017 with the roll call.
Then I would move to approve ordinance number 23, 2017.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Member Diesel?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Behringer?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Now we're on to ordinance 24, 2017.
So I would move to approve ordinance number 24, 2017.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? I have none. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Roll call.
Nope. I'll never get it completely right. I'm sorry. Roll call vote, please.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Behringer?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Diesel?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. On to item 10, ordinances first reading.
Ordinance number 25, 2017. An ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending ordinance number 5, 1993 of the City of Titusville, Florida, by amending the zoning map made a part of said ordinance by reference, by replacing the present multifamily medium-density residential R2 zoning with single-family high-density R1C zoning for a portion of property located at the northwest corner of Garden Street and Interstate 95, having property ID number 21-35-31-00-751. Property having a parcel ID number 21-35-31-00-754, and property is located at 3600, 4002, 4008, and 4014 Garden Street, and providing for an effective date.
The applicant, Rodney Honeycutt, on behalf of the owner, Garden Street Investors LLC, is requesting to rezone an approximately 32.83 acre portion of a larger 80.66 acre property located at the northeast corner of Garden Street and I-95. The request is to rezone the property from multifamily medium-density residential R2 zoning district to single-family high-intensity R1C zoning district with the comprehensive plan future use designation of medium-density residential. The purpose of the rezone is to allow the development of a single-family subdivision on the subject property. And this is a first reading.
Yes. City staff, do you have any presentations, ma'am?
I promise to make it brief.
That's
This
okay.
rezoning will reduce the build-out of the property from the initial proposed 288-unit apartment complex to a maximum of 143 lots. And because the property is located within the city's area of critical concern, the minimum lot size will be 10,000 square feet rather than the the smaller lot size that the R1C requires. The reason that the R1C is being requested is to allow a minimum lot width of 65 feet, but it will still have the larger lots. And the staff does recommend approval of this as it is consistent with the development in the area and it is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Okay. Clerk, are there any cards on this item?
Mr. Honeycutt has one card in.
Rodney Honeycutt, 3700 South Washington Avenue.
I guess I should open the public hearing since we have a speaker. Go ahead.
This is first reading, sir.
Oh, okay. All right.
So really, just if there are any questions, since it's first reading.
Any questions of Mr. Honeycutt? I see none, sir.
Thank you very much.
Nothing further on that issue. First reading, no old business, new business. Mr. City Manager?
Yes, sir. Advisability relating to shipping containers utilized as accessory structures. The city's land development regulations do not specify the type of structures that can be used as accessory structures. Within the last several years, the use of shipping containers as accessory structures utilized for storage have been increased in our city. There are several issues to be considered relating to accessory structures. Number one, the building code requires that structures over 120 square feet to obtain a building permit. If shipping containers, which can be as large as 9 feet by 40 feet, are properly anchored and a property owner can obtain a permit to place one in both residential and commercial areas. Number two, if an accessory structure is greater than 20% of the square footage of the principal structure, it is required to be architecturally similar. So what we're seeing is I think we've counted 8 of these in our city, and we'd like council's advisability and direction on the way to proceed forward with this. And Ms. Busaka there's a picture of one in your packet, and Ms. Busaka may provide additional information
Do you
to
have
council.
any additional information, ma'am?
I would be happy to answer questions. I do have some additional information if you are interested, but if you think you already know what you want to do, then I'm happy to sit.
I'm interested.
Okay. Well, let me tell you how that currently these structures can be looked at in 2 ways. The first is as a temporary storage unit. And I believe that this code was probably written with the intent that we're talking about pods. But now, because of the popularity of these storage units for very many things, we're seeing more and more of these being put in. If they are being maintained as a temporary storage unit, then code enforcement goes out and says you must either remove it after 30 days or you must get a building permit for it and actually anchor it to the ground. And that is what we have seen in several instances where people have come in and anchored them, received a building permit and anchored them. Because they are an accessory structure, the limitations are that you may have a total cumulative area of up to 50% of the square footprint of the principal structure in accessory structures. So if your footprint of your principal structure is 2,000 square feet, you can have up to 400 square feet of accessory structures. I'm sorry, up to 1,000 square feet of accessory structures, 50%. The other code is that any accessory structure, excluding a swimming pool or pool enclosure, which exceeds 20% of the square foot area of the principal structure, shall be compatible in architectural style, color, and exterior facing material. The picture that you were provided, the instance is that this structure is less than 20% of the total house, so is not required to be architecturally compatible. You should also be aware that because it is an accessory structure, that these detached structures have a smaller setback than the principal structure. Within the R1B and R1C, these structures may be 5 feet from the side lot line and the rear lot line. I did a little bit of research about the size of these structures, and they can be as small as 10 feet long, which I think would be similar to a pod. They can also be as long as 48 feet long. They can also be as tall as 9.5 feet. Now, a residential fence is allowed to be 6 feet. So within 5 feet of a structure of your house, you can have an almost 10-foot long, 48-foot structure, and it is currently legal. And I think that what we're seeing, and I'm beginning to understand that apparently sizes of containers have gotten larger because the ships have gotten larger. And so there is a large number of these on the market. And because we are fortunate enough to have a port close to us, we have a large ability to get them. And just so you know, apparently you can actually purchase an A+ grade A cargo container for somewhere between $1,500 and $8,000 if it's new. So in this case, if you were, for instance, renting a storage unit, this may be cheaper ultimately. And one final issue, when it was described, and this is by a website from someone who was trying to convince me to purchase one of these, they said that the 40-foot container is roughly the size of a 2-car garage.
I think we have a few questions, but I want to ask you one. Have you any experience to this point in Titusville with these large units?
Yes, the picture that you see here is 9 feet by 40.
And what has the reaction been to that?
This was brought to our attention because the neighbor was very concerned about this.
Okay, so that wasn't a positive thing.
No, sir, it has
Okay.
not been. I believe that the owner likes it. I just don't think the neighbor does.
Gotcha. Member Nelson, please.
I'm not sure I like it either. I'm not sure that, I understand that it saves the money, et cetera, but I think we have to balance that, the rights of the two property owners, and I don't think it's fair to have the one property owner who doesn't like it exposed to something that he can't even avoid looking at. So I think we need to look at regulating it somehow.
Good point. Member Diesel.
Yeah, you kind of already asked one of the questions, Mayor. What kind of concerns are we having? Why did this come up? And what I can gather from my discussion with city manager and what you had just said is there are some complaints out there. And I haven't heard them and haven't seen many of these, but I really appreciate you being out in front of the curve on this, because that's what it looks like. And I do think we need to address what's coming around the curve, because, as you said, economically they're affordable and they can store a lot of stuff. And we need to have some sort of guidelines for where these can be, how big they can be. And at the very least, you would think, just like a shed, you don't want a shed in the driveway next to you. If you're going to have a shed, you at least put it in the backyard, and there's, I'm assuming there's some coding for that. I would think that we at least need to look in that direction. I don't want to take totally away from those people that like them and want to use them, et cetera. However, as it's been noted up here already, I think that we also have to look out for the next door neighbor that suddenly has a big ugly shed in the driveway next door, and it's there to stay. So I appreciate you guys being ahead of the curve on this.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Just a couple questions. So specifically, are there any other safety concerns relative to hurricanes, construction, anything once we're anchored? Are there any safety concerns?
What the building department will do is to make sure that it is anchored so that it will be safe.
Okay.
That's the intent.
Okay.
Now, while these are temporary, such as a pod, then they're only allowed to be there for 30 days. And I suppose that it's possible that you would put a pod down and next day the hurricane would strike. I find that difficult to believe because the pod people probably don't want to deliver it that close anyway. So that is the intent, though, is that this has become something that is not going to blow around in a hurricane.
Have you found or have you had concerns raised that people are living in these things? Meaning if I don't have a house that is covered and it is accessible, what I'm saying is I could see this turning into something where I've seen property owners in other cities who are welcoming of folks in a hard time, have a backyard full of 9 people, and that's totally okay. And they're there some days, they're not there some days. And I was just wondering, are they being used for tiny homes, maybe for the day?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And I did ask code enforcement. They were going to do some more research. They had to look through a lot of records, but I am happy to bring that information back if they find that.
And then on a shed, let's just say I'm got Lowe's in front of me. So if I got a shed 6 foot by 6 foot, or I don't know, maybe 8 foot by 10, I'm guessing that's about normal, like a normal size residential shed. One is, do we have a ballpark for our sheds already? So existing sheds, we have something for the back. And the second part is I would be interested to the setback to that. Okay. So
any shed that's less than 120 square feet
right.
can be placed on the property without a building permit.
Right.
And those would meet the 5-foot setback to the rear and side.
Gotcha. All right. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Member Stokel?
Yep. Okay, I just want to clarify with our current code, as it stands now, these are allowed in the front or backyard?
They have to be behind the building line of the principal structure.
Okay.
So if you are behind the front line, in other words, the front of your house,
okay,
it has to be behind that front line of the house.
It's possible then to be on the side of okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And it's allowed there 30 days temporarily, or if they choose to anchor it, then there's no time limit.
That's correct.
And can be up to 48 feet long?
The type that you can purchase apparently can go up.
And so we don't have any regulation on limiting that size currently, is what you're saying?
The only limitation that we have is that it can't be over 50% of the total of the principal structure.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I see nobody else's cards up there, but I would suggest at this point, this is an advisability, that staff take a look at it. And there's got to be a ratio between, I think, between the size of the property and the size of the storage unit. If they live on 5 acres, this may not be a problem. And of course, how close it is to the adjoining property. The bigger it is, as you say, it could block out the sun in some cases. So my suggestion would be to come back with some suggestions on those ratios and the sizes of them. Does anybody have any other items they want to put in there?
We have one card on this
okay.
item as well, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Yes, Tom Fernstrom, 4875 Winchester Drive. I wish I could hear you all as well out there in the audience as I heard the police presentation. Okay. This particular subject we're talking about is in my neighborhood.
Really?
And I think we can all agree you wouldn't want it in your neighborhood. Under the section that it was cited, when I did the research on it, it was properly cited.
This is from you, correct?
Yes. But it was permitted under another section. Now, the section of 28391 that it was permitted under is so general that you can call anything a shed and put it in there. And when you look at 28373, it deals specifically with these type units. And this one is not allowed in a residential area. The max size they allow by this is 8 feet wide and 24 feet long. This thing is 9 feet wide and 40 feet long. So if you look at this, it shouldn't have been permitted. So, you know, as far as changes to the ordinance, I don't know if you need to do that. If they use this, it's a temporary storage unit. That's what it's designed for. It's not designed for anything else. Now, this particular one is all got electrical in it. It's got an air conditioner in it. What do you think it's going to be?
For chickens. No.
Yeah, probably. We don't allow them in our neighborhood either.
It's an inside joke.
But I would request that this not be, until we can deal with this better, you know, there's conflicting parts of this code. And there's also several areas in there that says that when there's a conflict in any subject in here, that the prevailing would be the most strict. And I think this is like 187 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went through this part here. So
I think you're making very good comments, sir.
Pardon?
I think you're making very good comments, and we appreciate them.
Well, I certainly hope this thing doesn't get made permanent. It's going to, I'll tell you, it's going to cause all kinds of problems. And there's other things involved with this particular piece of property as well. It's a home-based business that's in violation of other portions of this. So, I mean, this is
Well, I think that's what staff is trying to do, sir, tighten this up. That's why they came to council and asked to write an advisability.
I just want everybody to be aware of what's going on and whatever we have to do to get it right.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
It will be coming back as an advisability, and we will be making choices at that time. But I suspect staff knows where the council is at this point, just to voice it.
I just don't want to wake up one morning and find out this thing's been permanent.
Yeah, no, I don't think that will happen, sir. But
Thank you.
We'll determine at that time. Not at all. Thank you. All right, we're through with that one. Unless anybody has any other comments, I see none. Yeah, we got a few more minutes. Petitions and requests from the public. I know, I waited. As we have no public here, a mayor report, you have my written report. Any council reports? Four, yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. At the last Space Coast League of Cities meeting, Brevard County Public Schools presented, and that it was a very good presentation. Mr. Matt Reed was the presenter, and he talked about some of the ongoings with the school system. And they opened it up. It was a very short presentation. At the end, he said, "All right, any questions?" And it was any questions go. And I said, I guess one of the questions I raised was, well, it's amazing what we're doing. How often do you get a chance to actually present to the councils about what's going on in the city and who's doing that? And the response was, well, I think I'm supposed to be. And so being said, they definitely extended a willingness to come to city council to kind of present on what's going on, how's it going, what questions, and really it opened. So just for the council's decision, if we might want to do that, I would welcome it for sure. But yeah. And that is all.
You have a yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. That was it.
That's good. Okay. City managers. Anybody else on council? Yes, sir.
Similarly, I attended the Parks and Rec board meeting last week, and they're speaking of getting ready to do some park work and renovations, and I just wanted to kind of put it out there that I the last time Mr. Davis was here, I spoke to the fact that I'd like to see us focus on put the money where the people are. And I think that the city has made that kind of clear, and with the money that our citizens are paying, we would continue to like to see some parks. The parks are great. I'm very pleased with them. I think they do a great job, and I know they do a great job in many other aspects, but I want the two words to kind of be synonymous, parks and recreation. And I kind of probably said more than I probably should have that particular day, but I think that they do a great job with parks. And that particular day, the Titusville Youth, the Terriers football team spoke, and then actually Willie Taylor with Fighting Edge spoke. And I kind of spoke of maybe a shift of paradigm, and perhaps, yes, continue to work on the parks. And the parks are great. They do a great job. I don't want to get confused that I don't think they're doing a great job. I just think there might be time for us to come together and endorse a paradigm shift of supporting more recreational activities. And I'm not saying they're not supporting them now, because I know if they were there, they'd say we are. I'm simply saying if we're going to put money into repairing a tennis court, what are the numbers of the people that are going there? If they're going to work on a park of some sort, any park, what are the numbers of the people there? And then when you've got 300 to 400 kids participating in activities at Gibson, why couldn't we perhaps write a check for the participation and the enhancement of that recreation? So, again, I want to make it clear, I think they're doing a great job. In full disclosure, I worked for Parks and Recreation for over 20 years. I ran the Jackson Park Summer Rec program. They do a great job. I would like to see us look at a paradigm shift where we stress the word recreation in Parks and Recreation and put the money where the people are, and perhaps even push for surveys of what the numbers are. We don't really know. I mean, if we're going to put, or they're going to put, or we're going to participate in putting money into tennis courts or whatever it may be, what are the numbers? How many people are going there, and are we putting the money where the people are?
I think you make a good point. I'm not sure how we approach that. I wouldn't approach it with first putting the money in front of them, because that may be the wrong way to approach it.
It's kind of a neat little slogan to say, but if we're going to delve up money to parks, let's make sure they're parks that are being used.
Well, I totally agree with that part of it. I mean, there should be some accountability on who's participating where and where the needs are to make those decisions, and so that part I can fully support. you know, the situation always comes into, you know, dollars and cents and how to raise it and so forth and so on. But the first thing would be to understand what is needed. So I'm all for that. Anybody else?
I think they're doing a great job of that, by the way, and addressing those issues. And the people that come to speak, like I said, Willie Taylor was one of them.
Yeah.
They're hearing them. I would just like to see maybe.
We didn't get that information. And city manager, did we ever get that information?
We did, and the report said that they don't have an accurate count of the rec activities, nor do they have the measurement of the success of the activities, and they are working to add those two areas at Member Diesel's persistence at the meetings.
For my opinion, keep up the persistence, because I think we need that to make any decisions. I fully support that. Does anybody else have any other ideas? I think you got agreement on that. And then we can look at what the next step is. Okay, anyone else have anything? If not, the city manager.
Yes, sir. Two information items. The SCAT program to get our bus shelters installed is finally here. We expect mobilization to occur within the next 3 weeks, and yeah, it's been a long road, and I think we'll all be very satisfied once we see the product being installed to allow our citizens to get out of the weather when they're waiting for the buses. So please be, as construction's going on, there will be some temporary bus stops in place and that sort of thing. So just be patient as we work through this process to install those. Second is an attached actuarial report on the estimated changes of the city's overall OPEB financial liability. The study was conducted by the city's actuarial firm, Foster & Foster, at the direction of the OPEB Trust Board in order to estimate the financial impacts of the recent changes and or potential changes to retiree health care benefit levels. That that is in your packet. And just as a quick overview summary, as you recall, we had 3 different scenarios. We had the baseline scenario, and within your packet, you should have this this chart, which is to recall the different tiers that was established by previous councils. The first group has 253 total members in that group. 165 are Medicare eligible, and 88 are non-Medicare eligible. 100% of the employee premiums are paid, and previous to council's decision in May, it was not to exceed $500. So what the actuarial study shows is by lifting that cap, the city incurred an additional $11.634 million. And that increased our current liability and debt of $45,591,000 to $57,225. Now, this is new information, and it took some time to get the actuarial report completed. We just received that this week, and we wanted to bring that before council. The other 2 scenarios that was requested, the second tier is 15 all non-eligible Medicare employees. They entered, they were hired before 2003 and retired before 2014. Their benefit was 75% of employee health care premium, and again, not to exceed the cap of $500 per month. Should that particular scenario be lifted or adjusted by lifting the cap, that scenario would also produce an additional $3.302 million, increasing our liability and debt from currently $45,591 to $60,527. And the final group is employees that were hired before 2003 and retired after 2014. Currently, there are 23 retirees in that group, 20 non-Medicare, and 86 employees for a total of 109 in that category. Their benefit was greater than 50% of the employee-only health care premium or $8 per year of service, not to exceed $500 per month. And in that scenario, the actuarial report also showed an additional debt to the city of $2.348 million, increasing our current debt of $45,591,591 to $62,875. So, and we did not have the actuarial take a look at the final group, and that's active employees right now that are employees that were hired after 2003. So, subject to your questions, that the report again is new information that was not provided to council previous, and we got Mr. Dineros here to answer any questions you may have on the preparation of this, and City Attorney and I are prepared to help you through this.
Go ahead. Wait a second. No, I'm sorry. Member Stokel was first.
Yeah. That additional 11 million.
Microphone.
I thought I hit it. Dang it. That additional $11 million liability, how many years is that estimated over?
Actuarials, what they do is they take the employees that are in that pool,
Mm-hmm.
and they have tables about their life expectancy. So if you're age 55, you're expected to live to, I don't know what the table says, but let's say 77.
Okay.
So they're using that time of each one of those members, those retirees that are in that pool, that's the designated time.
So I guess where I'm going with that is, like, when we're doing our budget process, how would that impact this additional liability? How much would we need to then plan for? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's $600,000.
Okay. And then are we currently paying premiums for any employees that are eligible for Medicare?
Joe?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Are we currently paying premiums for retirees that are eligible for Medicare?
Yes. We currently have a program, probably occurred 2 years ago, where those members who were of Medicare eligible were on the active plan. And in order to do some cost containment, recognizing that they were of Medicare age, we shifted those retirees to a fully insured plan from the partially self-funded or active plan. So in each year, we renew with the carriers, those fully insured plans. Each year we renew at whatever that cost is for them. And we recognize that there is a cost savings for those people who are of Medicare age compared to the fully and the partially self-funded health plan for all of our active employees, because Medicare pays primary, and having a fully insured product is then secondary. So there is some cost containment. So those employees that are of Medicare eligible are on a fully insured plan, separate from the partially self-funded or active plan.
Okay. So I guess where I'm trying to go with this is, if we were to look at still trying to fund this, because now we're picking up additional liability, is there a way that we could potentially save money by moving those retirees into Medicare and saving the city money that way?
Well, we are saving the city money by moving them into a fully insured plan where Medicare is primary. They're already receiving primary. Those claims count against Medicare first. There's a supplement.
Okay.
There's a supplement plan that allows the retiree to then claim some benefits under that supplement along with a prescription plan. Because Medicare doesn't cover fully all of the prescriptions.
Okay.
There's donut hole that
So
you
there's
need.
a delta in coverage between what our current employees have, which we have to provide to the retirees,
Okay.
and what Medicare provides. So we provide a supplemental, fully insured plan for them. So Medicare is first,
Right.
and then that makes up the difference to bring them up to the standard of our current policies.
And the city is funding that, or the retirees paying for that?
No, the city does fund it, pays 100%. Now, if you're in that first tier,
right,
the city is paying 100% for those folks that are eligible. And you heard a lot,
Right.
that May 9th town meeting that we had, you heard them primarily in that first tier. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you probably don't know this. Do you know that cost offhand? What
The cost of those plans, I
Yes,
don't.
that's
I don't.
fine.
But you will see it when we renew, and we're getting
Okay.
ready. The Medicare plans renew in January, or calendar year every year. We have two plans. One, which is the Cigna supplement with a prescription plan, and we have been advised from Cigna that those premiums are the same as they were renewing at a flat rate, so there's no increase. The other plan that we have for some of our employees is a Medicare Advantage plan, and that's provided through Aetna. We're still working with them to get that final total. Now, that will come back to you. We're planning around the September, October timeframe, because Medicare open enrollment is around December, and that will renew in January. So we'll have those costs for you at that time. But like I said, there's no increase in that Cigna supplement. It's less than what we budget for our active employees, because Medicare is picking up the primary cost of those plans.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Any other? Vice Mayor.
Thank you, sir. And maybe a question for City Manager, or just some information that I would find useful. So, as I'm not necessarily looking at the if, it's a matter of how is what what I'm trying to figure out here. So, through scenario one, it's a heavy lift, but that's how I think is manageable. And as we go to C and D, then it starts getting heavier. And the how, I am not clear on how. What I'm saying from a policy standpoint, just in the advance in the future, or so forth and so on. If this council following year was to move forward, or move forward now, whatever. So the one thing that would be very helpful to me is that for the $600,000 a year, or the total liability, the $11 million we're picking up on B, when I am looking at 2025 as doomsday for the city, and I have that as a bleak look to me, and not negatively, it just that we have a lot of things that hit that year, and in being prepared for that, I think is a responsibility that we have, not just for today, but it is brutal. I think City Manager put it, you're working with $40 million and some change, and $7's out the door before you open the office. When we kind of look at it that way, and that is a lot of debt to be carrying as a city. Being said, one of the things that is helpful to me in talking with citizens, when I start talking about different plans, eyes glaze over. So most folks can understand tax rates. Do they go up? Do they go down? Is the city going to take in more money? Does the city have less money? Or are you going to cut services? That usually goes over pretty well. And so what I would be interested in is to see if we kept everything the same as is theoretically, our tax rate now to our tax rate that it would take doing nothing else to cover that $600,000, right? And go one further, what could be a theoretical tax number, including you have a max ability to peg out. I mean, you can't go, skyrocket. But what would be the max rates that it would take from our proposed tax rate, which I think is going to get adopted, to cover this gain solely doing nothing else? And the reason that I say that is because I imagine a conversation going like this. If we are at 7 and some change, whatever that may be now, that if we are to say to go through this, nothing else changes, our tax rate goes to 9 point whatever, then that's an easier conversation to have with, I think, citizens, because I think that they better understand that. And so I would be curious to what that number would be, what millage we would have to achieve in order to cover that gap, not cutting services, not doing anything else. And that would help me start that.
So we've already built in the budget, as we discussed at our 9 May meeting, the difference between the current premium that they're paying above the cap is 53, what is it, 553?
553, so it's
correct.
$53 over.
So that bogey for this year to meet it is approximately 60,000. That's already built in the budget.
Correct.
So when the recommended on scenario 1, the $599,000, that is what the actuarial recommends that we pay into the OPEB trust fund to make the fund solvent.
Right.
I can't afford that.
Correct.
I mean, it's beyond your 10 that you're allowed.
And and that's where I'm going.
That's correct.
And that's where I'm going. So
it's already there.
Right. So to me, if we're looking at a 5-year, what is it? I get that it's beyond the 10. What is the number, right? So because what I can say is if it's at X amount, and I say number 1, here's what theoretically it would have to be. Here's where the maximum we can go with doing what we're doing. For me as a council member, it's an easier conversation to take the community and say, here are the parameters. How do you expect community members to deal with this? And it would be helpful.
And just a little bit more about other post-employment benefits as we compare our city to others around us. Brevard County has a zero liability. All the major cities in Brevard County have that. We have a very generous retiree post-benefit employment benefit. What our goal is to bring that benefit down. And I think the provisions that were done to reform health care gave us some predictability to health care of our retirees. So by leveling it as the retirees age through the system, it'll come back down in many years. It's not immediate, but there will be a expectation that it's leveled and then going down rather than continuing to go up without any idea of how high it's going to go. So we are in negotiation with the unions to bring on new employees with a zero OPEB benefit at the end of their employment. So in other words, we are coming online with the other cities in the county in our area and just carrying that liability to the current retirees. As long as we're not continuing to exceed, if we can level and then see a way to go down, I think we'll be okay. And to your point, that storm that's coming between 2025, I think that was taken into consideration when these reforms were made, that they lessened that bubble that's out there at 2025 and then took care of trying to provide benefits to the retirees as they age through the system.
But with that, we have to keep it consistent, though. Keep the cap consistent. And we don't, if we just keep going up on that cap, it keeps building on the other end. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir. You're absolutely correct. And putting the new measure in as that last tier of $8 per employee, that's the current employees. That also is a leveling effect because we understand the number of employees that are in that packet and when they hit retirement, and then that they'll continue to come back down. And we'll continue with a small amount of debt until the new employees come on board that have no OPEB liability when they're complete.
Right. But we have no crystal ball to tell what's going to happen between now and that period where it starts to
you are correct, sir, and I believe just turn on the news and healthcare rates right now are running nationally between 20 and 40%, and ours is up over 50% over the last 3 years.
And with the way things are happening or not happening in Washington, they're apt to get worse. So without a cap on it, we can wind up, bankrupting the whole system. So
Well,
that's the part
to
that's
Vice
very
Mayor's
big.
point, to turn the lights on in the city in 2025, it's going to cost us $7 million before we provide any services to anybody, and that's a very
unfortunately,
very difficult amount of debt to carry.
Unfortunately, and I understand how they're looking. I don't know retirees and so forth, but realistically, if we don't take prudent methods on this thing, we could just, blow the whole thing. We wouldn't be able to pay anybody anything at that point. We'd have to do away with the whole system, insurance. And I'd rather see it contained than bankrupted. So it's something to think about, and we didn't know the numbers before, but we know now, as far as if they are the same ratios as we've been seeing lately. And to me, the thing that petrifies me without a cap on it is it could get very much worse. So something to consider at this point. And we're not due. We're not through.
Yes, sir. And just to reiterate, as we go through the FY18 budget process, the cap that council lifted for that first group in May is funded at the 553 level. So that additional 53 is in this budget. But we didn't know at that time what the actuarial debt incurred in future out years was. And now that we have the report presented to council.
Member Nelson.
I would like to see us do a workshop and have the actuarial here and have those questions answered. And I apologize, Joe, because I'm talking to our city manager. I guess you didn't have those answers, and we were expecting you to have them, and that was probably unfair. But I think we need to have almost like a workshop with just this topic to make sure that we understand it and we understand what those numbers are.
Perhaps we could have the Foster and Foster representative come before council, and then before we go into a workshop, have your questions answered by him. Would be a little bit. And Brad comes regularly anyway.
Has the basis.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And invite the retirees so they're aware.
Oh, they'll be there.
Oh, they'll be. I'm sure they will be.
I
But
don't blame them. And that's a good thing, because they have to get an idea of what's going on and why. Otherwise, they just think that we're trying to do them in, and we're just trying to keep the system alive.
Well, they got to pay the taxes too, and they need to understand that this is going to cause their taxes to go up, and so they're paying one way or the other. So
I don't disagree with you.
It might behoove them to listen to it.
Okay. Anything else on this subject?
I just want to add this part. And I think city manager has been very fair in saying tonight that we didn't have that number when this was voted on.
Yeah.
And I think it's also fair to say that basically all we got that night on May 17th was a $55,000 cost for that particular year, and 88 non-Medicare. So, I just think that I like the idea of getting, or maybe just having the presentation, but we went with what we knew. And the thing that I remember from that night too that we haven't said here is that we didn't invent the no cap program. They had a promise there, excuse me, the cap there. So, and again, I get that that's very, very controversial.
Dan, that's very controversial.
Well, that's exactly why we voted on it when we voted on it. There was
the promise, the idea of a promise. It really depends on who you talk to legally.
It does.
We were instructed at the time that that was not a promise.
Well,
by the city attorney, not this city attorney, the previous city attorney.
I'm going to go with my angle. My was that they were living that way, and there was a promise, and that's how they were living. And then all of a sudden, it was said in 2014, I believe, that that's over. And you know, that's to me there was something they were living on and believing in,
Yeah,
and then it was
I'm
over.
agreeing with you, Dan, all the way down the line. That's exactly what happened. But I am also saying that it was controversial. They didn't see it as controversial. They said we were promised.
I will add to that. I'm not naive to think that when I hear now $11 million in debt, there's an issue there, that a workshop and more information to everybody is important.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Anyone else like to add anything to this? City manager, do you have anything else on that subject?
No, sir.
Okay, well,
City
would you-
Attorney, anything, Richard?
Any other things you want to speak
Just a reminder, we have our poverty workshop on Thursday of this week in Chambers. We'll be on the floor. It is a 6 o'clock start time, 6:30 start time, and it'll be a 2-hour session. And then also in your packet are the budget hearing dates for September, and then a mark on your calendar date for the boards and commission recognition ceremony. Subject to question, it completes my portion.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? I hear nothing. This meeting is adjourned.